My name is Rory Quinn. I'm the CEO of Yukon Metals. We're advancing multiple high-grade projects with district-scale potential in the Yukon.
Rory, good to have you over here.
Yeah, lovely.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, have you been to the conference yet?
I've just spent the morning there.
Right. Busy?
Yeah, it is busy. We've met a few good people there already this morning. So yeah, some productive meetings.
I think that we're hearing that a lot of good vibes in the market broadly, not just here, but broadly. I think people seem to be coming back in. Tariffs are settling down a bit. People know where they stand. That's great.
There's been some positive news, and I think a lot of the names in Canada and even in the Yukon, they've cashed up.
Yeah.
Right. There's certainly a vote of confidence from the investment banking folks and high net worth folks and in the space. So
seems to be heading that way. Look, we've not met or spoken before. Can we just start with a little bit of background on yourself? Where have you come from? What have you done?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent most of the last 20 years in the junior mining space, save for 7 years I was with Silver Wheaton, which we then rebranded as Wheaton Precious Metals when we added a substantial amount of gold to the portfolio. So I was at Wheaton while we did $6 billion worth of transactions, building that into the behemoth really it is today. And I sat in on the Corp Dev committee, seeing potential transactions of size that were meaningful, and so had some experience looking at some early stage assets with potential, and then got into CEO roles, and this is now my third CEO role. And it was actually Keith Neumeyer that pulled me into this. I met Keith during my time at Wheaton because we had a partnership with First Majestic with Silver Wheaton and Wheaton Precious Metals, and he had done the Snowline transaction with Ron Berdahl and the Berdahl family, and so it was a matter of time floating Snowline is the Berdahl family's primary gold assets, now a $1.3 billion company. So it was a matter of time before you'd float the balance of the property portfolio the Berdahls put together, and which is silver gold, copper gold, and some critical metals. And that's, so we're now Yukon Metals, and we're roughly a year old now.
Right.
Got going last June.
Right, there are a lot of moving parts. So I kind of want to, I guess, first of all, try and understand, what is the business model? What are you trying to be? Are we buying to explore or what?
Exactly. No, definitely. We're definitely an explorer.
Right. Okay.
Right. That's
not project generator.
No.
You have a big portfolio of projects.
Yeah. So that's what the Berdahl family did. Right. It was in private hands, but that's really what their model was, a prospect generator. And so we did inherit a large group of properties from them. There were 17 in total. And so it was incumbent upon us to prioritize. And so out of those, we really prioritized 3 assets. And with great geologic potential, but above and beyond that, which is quite unique in the Yukon, is great accessibility, close to roads, close to power.
Yeah, otherwise it gets super expensive, doesn't it? So like, from 17 down to 3, not 17 down, you are going to focus on 3. You still have the other 14 in the portfolio. Can we deal with those first, and then we can get into the meat of it? What do you do with those? Just keep them in the background, low maintenance costs? Would you flip them, spin them out? What's going to happen?
So we'll drill 3 this season. So the balance, there's probably another 5 that we'll do a limited amount of work on, to test some theories and to, in some cases, confirm some things that we've learned over the winter doing some desk work. There's in particular an asset called Risby, which is a tungsten asset 30 kilometers away from road and power. We see it as an intrusion-related gold system with untested gold potential, and so that's something where our VPX Helena Kuika and Ron Berdahl they'll have boots on the ground. They're assessing the potential for Risby. So that one's quickly kind of risen up to be perhaps our 4th priority.
Right.
The balance, I think we will look for portfolio optimization opportunities, But I think it behooves us to work to understand some of these assets. So when I mentioned there's 3 that we'll drill, there's another 5 that we'll spend quite a bit of time getting to know better, wrapping our arms around. That's to kind of come up with that. Yeah, to be able to provide that insight internally to, is this something that's going to be core for us moving forward?
Yeah.
Is it something that perhaps do we consider a spin out of a NewCo, a critical metals company? Do we allow perhaps a partner to use their treasury to advance these assets and earn into them? So that, all of those conversations are happening internally, but I think where it's, as you know, with the Yukon, it's a relatively tight window, and I think we want to spend a bit more time with a handful of them.
Okay, and are they all discoveries, or what stage are they at?
It's early stage, right?
Okay.
I mean,
so we can't say discoveries.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're heading, right?
Right.
That's where we intend to head, is towards discoveries, multiple discoveries.
Right.
And so, but for context, Valley, which is now Snowline's flagship, on its way to 10 million ounces, 5 to 6 grams per ton, right at surface. There wasn't a drill hole into that 3.5 years ago, right? So, I mean, there is district scale potential there that was until very recently undiscovered. So it is early stage, but I would say with the Berdahls and Ron Berdahl in particular, I mean, they had a 20 to 30 year head start on the rest of us. The Yukon's never been more busy than it is now, with folks exploring there and spending money and raising money. But the Berdahls put this package together sort of 20 years ago.
Right. Okay. Because I think everyone likes to point to their likeness to Snowline, because it's a big success story for the past 2-3 years, right?
Yep.
And I remember interviewing Scott, crikey, 3 years ago on it, and it was kind of clear that there's something happening there. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee success for a lot of people saying it, nor for the rest of your portfolio.
Yep.
But you've kind of got the numbers there to give you a good chance. So that's why I'm interested in the kind of process you go through to score or rank your targets. So you've got 3, possibly 4 now that you're going to go with. What do you know about each of those?
Yeah, no, it's a good way to think about it, because that's exactly how we approached it. Is we kind of came up with a matrix of
right.
I mean, the potential for grade, for size, for scale, and then accessibility was a big one. So, and we are blessed with.
You're saying, and you've said a few times things for people in case you're missing it. You're saying, because if you don't, the cost of building roads and getting power out there at some point down the line may be prohibitive or stop others from being interested. That's why you want to do that.
It's worthwhile pointing that out. Thank you. So it makes your drilling costs lower, right? It's easier to get it's easier to get permits, right? If you've got to permit a long road, that's difficult. If you've got to be only helicopter supportive, that's more expensive initially. But then if you've got to get power to site, that's expensive, and it can take time.
Right. So you're commercial. Should we say that?
Yeah, so I mean, I can walk you through. I mean, if we get started, I can walk you through Star River, for instance, of why we're so excited about that one. Well, above and beyond its geologic potential, which I'll take you through, it is 5 hours drive from Whitehorse, 1 hour south drive from Ross River, and it is on an all-access. There's an all-access road that is plowed by the government year-round that goes right through the property. The property split between north and south with this all-access road and a stream that actually, I mean, it's almost like idyllic, right? And so you've got a stream for water, for drilling, we can bring in the future. We can expedite goods, people, bring in big rigs on like Timmins style rigs, not necessarily the smaller ones that you would need to bring in a helicopter, and we can have a major camp there. As far as from the technical side, we approached Star River early on as a silver, lead, zinc opportunity. Okay. It quickly became, and we actually, differentiated ourselves from Snowline early on, that that we weren't trying to be Snowline 2.0, right? That was not the pitch, but it was more of a copper gold and perhaps a base metal variant, but high potential for discovery. But our first news from Star River was sampling almost 11,000 gram per ton silver. So for our American friends, roughly 4 ounces per ton gold equivalent, and then 101 gram per ton gold, so roughly 3 ounces per ton gold. And so it quickly became a precious metal story there. And so we've seen at Star River, I mean, it is, and really what has blown me away in the Yukon is the level of prospectivity. I've been to sites certainly all over the Americas with Wheaton and doing site visits, and I've never seen this level of prospectivity there is in the Yukon.
Meaning what?
Well, I mean, we can, if you're on site, so we could drive to site 5 hours from Whitehorse. Once we're on site, we can hike up the ridge for 10 minutes until we get to Outcrop, and you can quite literally just hack metal out of the ground, right? That's heavy in your hand. It's there'll be some lead in there, but some fine-grained silver that you can just hack right out of the ground.
Wow.
And that's really, and again, we're talking about something that isn't a million miles away from from anywhere, right? I mean, we're talking about somewhere that's 50 kilometers away from the nearest town, and it's on a road, right? So yeah, wild level of prospectivity. So yeah, we're finding that kind of grade at surface, right, in this relatively accessible area. We see there this actually, so the silver is housed in galena, fine-grained silver, and the gold is in highly oxidized arsenopyrite. And so we're approaching this as a carbonate replacement type deposit, and we see these rock types overlap in multiple locations. And so where we're going to drill is where we had the highest concentration of silver grade, the highest gold grade at 101 gram per ton. We did an EM survey, electromagnetic survey, and the highest, the biggest and hottest reading that we had was overlapping where we had this concentration of silver and gold. So it was roughly 400 meters across, a very powerful response. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, there's the potential for a false reading, potentially a graphite lens or something of that ilk. We felt it was unlikely given the kind of rocks we're finding. But we did then a gravity survey as well, and we had an 800-meter long gravity high, which again overlapped that area. So it was essentially a Venn diagram of everything that we did. Everything worked in one area, and that's going to be our drill target at Star.
Right, and we'll stick there with Star for now, because we'll come on to the other thing in a second. You're allocating what budget, how many meters, how are you going to quantify, how are you getting after this? Because they say there's kind of short windows up in the Yukon, aren't there?
Yeah, right. So we initially 4,000 meters, and we'll learn so much just by putting our initial drill holes in. And just to give you a bit of context, what we think we're going to be able to do is, I mean, we've got a silver vein right at surface, so we know we're drilling into a silver vein.
And let's give us the dimensions.
Well, I mean, so what we're trying to do underneath is we're going to puncture through this silver vein that's at surface, and the intent is then to drill into a gold-bearing manto that's roughly 50 meters beneath the surface. Right. So there's the potential for a twofer in these holes, right? And we think that's what we'll be able to do is have silver and gold in these early holes.
But just again, explain to people the kind of what you're chasing. These aren't like thin, narrow vein outcrops to surface, are they?
Well, the mantle, for instance, right? I mean, the silver. I mean, it's a vein, so I mean, we're talking maybe a few meters of galena here, but beneath it, we think. I mean, the 400-meter size electromagnetic signature that we have, we believe is a sizable mantle, gold-bearing mantle, and for context. There's a company called Quetzal Gold that mined a large manto right next to our property, borders our property. They finished mining in, I think, 2009, and in time of, I mean, it's difficult pricing. It was a relatively difficult time, difficult pricing, but there was a real company. They had a mill, they were processing it, they're processing gold. And so, yeah, there is there's an example there, and we think we could have multiple mantos on the property. It just happens that where we intend to drill first, what even our geo or VPX would say is a bullseye target. It's just that's just the one where that's the most prominent.
So do they have a mill there? You say?
They had a mill, yeah.
Is that still there?
It's still there. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
obviously care and maintenance. It's old now, but it's actually maintained now by the government. It's in government hands, so yeah. But and they maintain the road that was built to service the Kensa gold mine.
Okay, let's get on to the other two then. What's next on the ranking?
Yeah, so really I'm getting, so there's a ranking, but it's also a sequence of how we're going to approach them. So Star River, we're targeting June 1 start.
Right. So it's not necessarily the best one, are you saying?
I mean, look, they're.
Who's your favorite child? Come on.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, I think there's the potential for some really exciting drill results. I know that the team are very excited at Star River. But I'll take you through AZ, and perhaps you can tell me what is your favorite. AZ again. So this is one of Ron's favorite properties. It's a large property, almost 12,000 hectares. We found 3.5% copper outcropping 6 kilometers away from the Alaska Highway, and so we found that grade. That 3.5% copper is on one end of a 1.2 kilometer Gossan. So it's at a place called Chair Mountain, where there's actually, it's bald, this side of the mountain, because it's a genuine kill zone where there's so much metal in the ground, no vegetation will grow. And so that drew the eye. And then as we prospected along the ridge there for 1.2 kilometers, we're finding grade and outcropping all the way along this 1.2 kilometer ridge.
What was that grade mix up like? Because I noticed some of it's obviously on the lower side on the that's great. So how much work has been done there? And is it also rock samples? Is it
those outcropping samples?
Right. Okay. No drilling.
No drilling. It's relatively underexplored, this area.
Okay.
Close. I mean, just generally the Yukon is, but even relative to the Yukon, AZ is underexplored. It's been held by the Berdahls for a long time now. It was actually called AZ by Ron because he thought it would house every metal from A to Z, starting with antimony. And so, but in this specific area I'm talking about, there's been historic placer gold mining, and then some folks panning the river, and so there's unsourced gold there as well. But that 1.2 kilometer long Gossan zone itself sits within a 5 kilometer long trend that we've identified, at the end of which there's a showing called Nutzoten, where the Berdahls did trenching work that delivered 10.3% copper. Mm-hmm. So we've got on one end, a little further into the property, 5 kilometers into the property, trenching that historically delivered 10.3%.
Sitting in what? What's it sitting in?
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, you're looking at, it's generally what the material we're looking at is malachite, green-stained malachite is what we're in. So if you showed you a picture, it looks.
I think it's in your deck.
Yeah, it's in the deck. It looks very. Maybe we can show one with the interview. It looks pretty much like a lot of the high-grade copper you see in South America and Africa as well. So it's exactly the type of rock you want to find.
Okay, fantastic. So again, how do you get after that this year? Because that's a big land package, and you could blow your brains out, chasing this. So what's the kind of systematic process you're envisioning for this year and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, just to get into, the capital side, we've got roughly $17 million in the bank. Our entire work program that we've put together and budgeted is $7 to $8 million.
Right.
So is there the potential to get more aggressive once we know more, and we'll learn a lot more once we start drilling holes? Yes, there is. But the budgeted programs are well within, and that's for 3 properties. So, so we'll start drilling at Chair a meeting. That will be the focus of 2,000 meters. So not a huge amount.
Okay.
And then we'll do a regional program of electromagnetic, induced polarization, gravity, and so some of the tools I walked you through at STAR, and induced polarization to test for the test for continuity along that whole trend.
Okay, and given it's coming at its surface, etc., what type of drilling are we going after with this 2,000 meters, and what are you looking for?
We'll be diamond drilling.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think we're drilling into outcropping. I think we'll drill down 100 meters, but I think we're looking for continuity. We're looking for depth. We're looking for structure.
Yeah.
So that's like I said, I think we'll learn a lot.
Just in terms of the orientation, just to understand, you think that there's obviously it's outcropping, we get it, but have you got any sort of sense of the structures underneath? Are we?
No, I mean I think that's what
you're really getting after.
That's what we're getting after,
Okay.
is to get that kind of knowledge and from these and like I said, I think we could do 20 holes there, but I think we'll learn a lot just from the first handful.
Okay, so in a way, it's really the beginnings of a process here, which your team has, Berdahl experience, has done multiple times. So it's cookie cutter. We're not reinventing the wheel here.
No. I mean, I think
okay.
look. I think along that trend, I think there could be the potential for porphyry, right? But it's relatively early to this one. We're not certain what it is.
Okay.
Right, and so. I think we.
It's got to come from somewhere, right?
It's going to come. It's a big, powerful system, and it's a big property, and so there's lots there, and this is only a small part of this entire property. We'll fly all of it, right? And so we'll get to know more. But I think in particular we're going to get intimate with this Chair Mountain area that's 3.5% copper, and we'll be able to. The team will be able to camp 6 kilometers away. There's actually a trail that you can get to site on horseback, right? And we will early on though use helicopter support.
Okay.
For that.
So setting after AZ would be what?
So then that's AZ. So we'll work in AZ, July and August.
Z or Z?
We say Z, and it's has been over the last few months. This year has been more pronounced that we should pronounce it AZ.
Good.
To use the typical pronunciation, and then there's Birch, and so talking about assets that could be big and I mean for a small explorer there is you do want to guard against like blowing your brains out and being cautious and responsible with shareholders' capital. At Birch, we do think we know what it is. We think we have it.
Where's this information come from?
Well, from various bits of work, but so we've done a lot of soil sampling, induced polarization. Right, there's some geophysics work, but we think there's a signature there for an intact copper porphyry, and so it was approached early on at Birch, and Birch is again more towards the west of the territory. We would access it by helicopter, 65 kilometers from Burwash Landing, where it was in Ryan Gold's group of assets before. So Sean Ryan advanced it, and he was looking for epithermal gold. Did a lot of ground truthing, raised a lot of flow through, and did quite a bit of work. And so they had a gold and soil anomaly there that looked quite interesting. Even early on, our director, Darryl Clark, who's a PhD level geo, he was at ISO Energy. He's now with Ma'aden in Saudi Arabia. He thought it had porphyry potential. And it's not a million miles away from Western Copper and Gold's asset. There's a casino. So I think it's about 70 kilometers away. And so what we saw there, and we did a soil drill program to start with, really high quality samples. So we used a mechanized soil drill to drill into the permafrost a meter, and so you're avoiding smearing at surface. And we developed a 1,400 meter long gold in soil anomaly up to 0.99 gram per ton gold in soil across 1,400 meters, 0.24% copper. And then also there's limited outcrop there and subcrop. Most of it is overburden, but we had multiple samples, rock samples of 2.4% copper, 14 gram per ton gold, a mineralized scar and horizon. To the south, slightly to the south of this copper anomaly, we have a large molybdenum anomaly as well. Also, other sort of pathfinder elements like tellurium are present there, which is common in the Yukon relative to porphyry targets.
Is that payable for anyone? Is
that?
Is that payable?
I'm not sure if it in itself if it's a payable, but it's a pathfinder element.
Okay.
And then I mean even moly, right? Molybdenum, various times can be economic, but I think for us it's more of a signature of what we think it could be there. Right. And so to the south there's substantial high grade molybdenum there. So we'll approach that drilling Birch in August, September, and again, this is all budgeted and funded to a total of $7 to $8 million. We'll drill 3,000 meters there, and so initially targeting the kind of mineralized scar and horizons, but then also trying to get into the top end of this porphyry that we think is there.
Okay. Sorry, just come back to the portfolio. So are the holding costs, I mean, obviously the Berdahls have had them a while. I suggest the holding costs aren't insurmountable and you got cash in the bank, etc. How much of a rush are you to kind of get partners in or other people to use their balance sheets, etc.? How much more work do you feel that you want to spend on that? Or is it just a case of like, let's get that out. It might be worth something at some point because we're not going to get around to it for a few years because we think we like what we see with these 4 projects and we'll just stick with that. So is there a team that does that kind of business development side of things?
Yeah, so we do that. I mean, as a junior, as a junior, we wear many hats, and so we have had external interest in the Risby asset, which is the tungsten with intrusion-related gold system asset that we have, but we want to spend a bit more time understanding that one and wrapping our arms around it. But I would say so. First of all, the holding costs are very low in the Yukon, so we're talking about, I mean, over the next handful of years, like 70 to 80,000
a year.
No, total.
In total.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's. I mean, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons the Berdahls were able to put together and bootstrap as a family all of these assets over this length of time.
Right.
And doing work during the good periods, and then just paying the holding costs during downtimes.
And there's no obligation with the holding costs to actually get on and do stuff, is there?
No, I mean there's. I mean it depends by like ours are very well organized, and work is being done to ensure that they're in good standing.
Right.
Right. So there is, and you got to make sure that you do that work, but that all of that kind of the expenditure and work has been done.
Okay, so you're no rush with that. So you're focused on 2025 because I'm trying to work out what I'm buying into this year. So you are explorers, and I get the team, and I get that you've got a bunch of cash, and you're not going to spend all that this year. You're well within your means. But where's the kind of the growth and the excitement come from for 2025? Is there kind of set up for 2026? How do I read this?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if we've got a discovery or 2 or 3, I think that will
define discovery for us because it was an interesting topic.
Yeah, well, look, I think if we're able to at Star, if we're able to get a 2-for-1 and drill through silver and then get a substantial width mining, substantial drilling width of gold-bearing manto, I think that would qualify as a discovery if we have a few holes into something like that. Okay. Look, I think, and at AZ, I think, look, it's a combination of grade and widths, right? And looking in, I mean, you probably takes generally going to take more than just a few holes before you could call something a discovery. Yeah. But
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people come on here one hole or discovery. It's very rare.
Look, I think even as we've gone out and told this story, and look, people can look at it and say, well, 3, that's quite a few. I mean, look, I mean the properties warrant the work that we intend to do on them. But people will generally say, well, you're probably going to be successful with one of them, right? I mean, I think like as we're talking to some investors will be very optimistic and think that all, like 2 or 3 of them show like have excellent potential, and right, and we've had a lot of those great investors that really believe in what we're doing. But generally, even the more conservative folks will be like, you'll probably be successful with at least one of these, right? And that's not a bad hit rate, right? If we've got 3 really interesting targets that have been well thought out, good science behind them by people that know what they're doing, and I think our chances are pretty good of having the discovery.
I think what's working for you in the market, because most exploration stories are just not getting the love, haven't done for 2-3 years. In reality, like, and even your stock's kind of been moving. Let's sideways. Shall we say, right? After a sort of up and down year last year. But what you do have, Berdahl name, which is associated with the Snowline component, right? So that's with you, and you got a ton of cash. And you just raised a bit more recently. The fact that you're able to do that, a lot of exploration companies cash stranded and not able to do anything, even if they've got great things to get after. So that's got to be in your favor. But what else would you say people should be looking at? What's important in terms of valuing you? And the way that you look at it, maybe the way that investors should look at it.
Yeah, I think that the one thing missing, because I think you captured that well. Yeah, we certainly benefit from the affiliation with the Berdahls and the success they've had with Snowline, right? And I think people valuing that they have a good eye for properties and assets. And then, as you mentioned, I think, yes, certainly being able to finance as well as we've done, raising 15 out of the gate. Then raising 11, all hard dollars, and as bodes well. But even that comes from it. The other huge factor is just the quality of our investor base is well, it's really ideal for a company of our size and our stage. You couldn't really ask for better. So I mean, it starts with the Berdahls are a huge shareholder. They're our biggest shareholder. They haven't sold a share of Snowline as it's gone from 50 cents to $8. They haven't sold a share of ours, and I don't expect them to. Then Keith Neumeyer is a huge investor. If he's not an insider by now, he's probably at 9.9%. And so Mark Wolverton is now he's owns a sizable amount of ours, and I should say that of the folks that invested in the $15 million raise to start, 75% of the new money that we got, $11 million, came from the same investor group. Right. So a lot of people have doubled down that they really believe in what we're doing.
They done well? Would you raise that?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the trick, isn't it? We raised the initial 15 million. We raised at an average of 38 cents. Nice. And so we did the last round at 55 cents. And so without a drill hole, I think we were able to demonstrate value and that we were spending money, being respectful of shareholders' money, and we came up with 3 really nice drill targets. Right. So raised at 38 cents, 15 million at 38, and then 11 at 55. And so we've been trading about 52, 50, and 55 now. So we provided a 3-year half warrant with that 55.
Yeah, you're selling on just under $50 million at the moment, that sort of level.
But yeah, I mean, so it started out as a Vancouver story. I mean, there's obviously some folks that did well with Snowline that wanted to position themselves here. But yeah, I mean, it's the senior brokers at Haywood in Vancouver. So the Bob Disbrow, John Tognetti, David Lyles, really, I mean, Bernard Thoreau, the really good group of folks, Tim Ferriss, and then at Canaccord, so it's Pat Leckie. Peter Brown is a major shareholder, and again came in on this financing, and so yeah, I mean there's a lot of, I would say, out of all of our shares, roughly 50% is insiders. There's a lot of high net worth patient capital that believes in what we're doing.
Yeah. So you've got time. I think you do have time. I mean, that said, you always you need a bit of liquidity out there. So for retail guys and gals looking in on this thing, I think you pointed out what they should be looking at. So
Yeah, I mean it trades. It's look. I think liquidity. I mean it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, but we're trading about 130,000 shares a day. It can. I mean, when there's been times where it's traded volume like 3, 4, 500,000 a day. But yeah, I mean there's also. I mean we just did a raise at 55 cents. So that's kind of the price. And so yeah, I don't think there's most of the people that really wanted to invest in us at size are interested in providing liquidity at this price.
So there's longer term holds, right? This is not a flip it in 3 months thing. This is people who park it in the back of the drawer and come back and look at it in a year's time kind of people. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the kind of investor we have. So we're blessed to have that type of investor and that is patient and supportive. And I think maybe there's a bit of a cautionary tale with Snowline, right? Is because it took them a while before they found Valley and before they discovered Valley, and there wasn't every hole they put in wasn't a success initially, and I think they traded down to 20, 30 cent range, and so people. I think there's perhaps some folks that maybe some fear of missing out that they don't want to sell too early again. I think that's appropriate.
Yep, that's absolutely fine. Well, it is a exciting story. Appreciate that.
Thanks very much for having me.
Lovely to meet you, and we'll be watching this one.
Great.
It's great.
Thank you.
Nice setup.
Yeah, appreciate it.